Welcome to the Riders Lounge. I'm Mark Fawcett.
And I'm Shane Johnson. And today we're going to take you through the top 5 setup mistakes we both see up in the shop. You just bought your new setup. Let's get to it. All right, so we've compiled, there was kind of a top 10. We've whittled it down to 5. This is the most important things we want to make sure you guys are paying attention to. We're going to really focus on board and bindings today. We may do another boot one, but we will discuss some boot fitment issues we see when it comes to bindings. But Fozzie, number 1, we've pulled the bindings out of the box. We got the board out. We got this beautiful Jones howler here, the ladies howler. Top sheet's excellent. We figured we'd do that. We got a pair of Nidecker K-ons, smalls to fit the board correctly. So that's probably the first thing is you better make sure you're buying the right size binding for the waist width of the board. So that'll be number
0.05.
0.05. Yeah. So we
or
got
0.5.
We got there. We figured out we needed a small Nidecker for this waist width of the women's howler. So that much is out of the way. Now number 1.
Number 1, I'm going to go with is your stance width and a mismatch of the stance width to your body proportion. And we see it all the time. See these like tall kids come in here and like crazy narrow stance, and they have like wider hips, super long legs, and they'll have like no ability to torque the board at all. So you know, getting into that like average range, and like, you know, there's sort of, if we looked at it on a graph, there's this like, you know, high and low sort of median that you want to fall within that funnel. And we see outliers that are just crazy. And then you can see it when we see them set it up, and we often see it when you're riding up the chairlift. And they're coming down underneath, and I'm like, oh my God, like I gotta stop that. And I literally have done that before. I've stopped people.
Well, it's gonna mess up your hips. It's gonna mess up your knees. There's so many issues that will come with that.
And then there's this, of course, too.
And then going too wide is the same thing. So we kind of have a rule of thumb upstairs where every once in a while we'll take someone that just stands, you know, shoulders back. We'll measure that out. You know, I'll go behind Fozzie here. I'll get that. I get 20 inches from faucet, shoulder to shoulder. Then what we often do is add an inch and a half to give us an average. And this is kind of a loose concept, but it really does help, because if you see it proportions down and just flares you out enough to get that actuation, get those knees working correct. And Fozzie usually is around 21.
That's 21 and a half is kind of like, my groomer stance.
Yeah,
I'm riding groomers.
And he says that because we're constantly changing our stances. I don't have a set 22 that I always go to. We are always changing. So, but again, that's another episode. So that's a good way to just kind of start. You're at home, the shop wasn't able to do it for you. That's something I should mention. The shop will usually do this. A good, reputable shop is gonna dial you in. But for those of you that don't have that, or whatever the reason is, we got you. We're doing it here.
The next one, very related to that, is where are you going to set and center that stance on the board? We see so many mistakes there too. Yes, graphics have good references, and they're pretty good about that these days from a perspective of,
you'll see those right there.
And if you watched back in the day anyway, when they built a snowboard, I mean, they were just haphazardly throwing the top sheet on there, and that could, those graphics could be off by like an inch on some boards. But what I often see in people trying to like go centered that probably shouldn't be and such, I very often see people riding with way more tail than nose, like an inch and a half of tail compared to the nose out there. And that's
this kind of
that's
stuff.
Gonna be, you know, people always talk about, oh, my leg burns when I'm riding powder. Too far forward, too far
Shift
forward.
that body weight back.
Like kind of when in doubt, my thing, when in doubt, move back.
Yeah.
We're going to talk in future episodes this year, and some of the other ones we've talked about, we're kind of going back to full cambers. They're figuring out the blends. The reason I would always literally mount my back binding as far back as it would
too.
go,
Yep.
measure forward for my stance width, and that was it. And that was because of older designed blends from camber to nose.
Well, it took some weight off of this section, so it allowed the board to just turn a little more effortlessly. There was less hookup happening in the front end because we did shift some body weight back. We're also spoiled. We are riding 60% powder.
Yeah.
But we're free riding. So, and Mark and I are not landing. Yeah, you know, we're just not landing fakie that much.
Yeah, I'm not landing
that
switch,
much, you know,
hardly
so,
ever.
Switch fakie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that plays into it. But for the average, as you're getting used to your new board, set yourself back a little bit. It's going to help you figure out where that side cut is grabbing best. And it just, like I say, it takes a little weight off that nose, so nothing's going to be hooky and nothing's going to kind of throw you off.
And you're going to have you're going to have more control over the tail.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I've
exactly.
always said that, like control the tail, control your destiny.
Yeah.
And again, with a lot of the new boards, and if you're an experienced rider on a twin board, totally acceptable to ride that thing square in the middle as well, like right on the reference stances, or measure out even, like when in doubt, measure it.
Measure center of your binding, and anytime we do measure, we're going center of binding outwards or we're going center of binding inwards. So when we're getting our stance, that's exactly how we're doing it. You know, right there we got 21.
21.
Center to center. So, you know, when you look down at any of the references, that's also how they're doing it. A lot of references I find are in the 21 range-ish on the boards we ride.
Yep, and like this is a gal's board, typically for smaller gals,
so let's
just
see
based
what
on the
that one
size of
is.
this board, and it's 19 something.
19 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So now let's move on to number 2.
Toe heel centering.
So that's moving sort of fore and aft like that, right?
So we see this one a ton. Again,
You hear him talking about booting out. This is one of the ways to get around that.
And I stop people at the hill all the time, even like sometimes like decent riders, and I'm like, oh my God, like your toes are hanging out that much and your heels aren't even over the edge. Yeah. Like, no wonder you feel comfortable on your heels and you're intimidated to go on your toes, you know? So this adjustment of like where your binding is situated, like between the edges, is big time. Different systems for different bindings. Burton does most of that with like an adjustable high back, so their heel cup stays, it's all one piece.
It's unibody, yeah.
Yeah, it's unibody. Yep. Most brands have a adjustable heel cup. The heel cup slides back and forth.
Well, the Burton, you'll use the disc actually to do most of that.
Unless you're with EST.
Unless you're with EST. Yeah, the EST will slide.
And the EST will slide as well. So there's a bunch of different systems. The primary way to make this adjustment with almost everyone's bindings is through the disc. A lot of discs you'll see actually have marks to line up with your angles, both with the slots going fore and aft, and 90 degrees from that going toe to heel. So depends, this is always the compromise. Do you want your stance width exactly to the millimeter?
Yeah, which is
which is this way, or do you want to center to the millimeter? And I always will take the centering. I will go a 1/4 inch too narrow or a 1/4 inch not too wide.
I agree with that.
I'll go a little wider, a little narrower. That's not going to bother me as much as if this adjustment's off. Like, that's a day ruiner there completely. As soon as I start dragging one more than the other. Other people find if they don't have big feet and it's off, they're like, oh, my toe's right on the edge, but their heel's an inch to the inside. You don't have the leverage to actually roll the board really well. Yeah. So you want to have that feeling where it rolls equally both ways. You're not catching on one more than the other.
Yeah, getting that boot centered is super important.
I like to do it with, we don't have the boot here, I like to do it with the boot in the binding, and like really like I'll run a screwdriver from the bottom and see where how much I'm overhanging and hitting. Most of the time you will have overhang. You just don't want huge amounts of it, but most of the time it's fine with a little bit,
right? And try to keep it moderately equal.
Keep it equal.
Yeah.
And keep it equal.
All right, so we're moving on to number 3.
Ankle strap. This is a really big one as well. Again, we see it upstairs all the time. They're like, oh,
Gotta be centered.
yeah. The
gotta
ankle
be
strap
centered.
is designed in a like infinity style shape,
Yes.
or like a figure 8 shape, where it gives you more support laterally and good flex forward over, so you don't get a big pinch point here. But it's got to be right in the middle of where your boot flexes.
That's how they are designed to operate. So, and I've seen that some people have been like, oh, my straps are so stiff, and then I'll see that they've only got them to about there. So they're actually, half of what they're fighting with is actually their ratchet.
Yeah.
And they're turning on a ratchet, and they're turning on the thickest part of the strap, which it's not designed for. So this is a very, very key, and you have your adjustments here, right here, you know. So crank it, you know where it's gonna be, and then you know where you can make that adjustment. Every company's a little different.
This one, for instance, is a
Toolless.
toolless one. A lot of them will have a screw. A lot of them will have like a kind of a snap in place.
Yeah, like some of the
different set
newer
holes.
unions just have the two
It's
pins
toolless
and
as well.
toolless also.
But yeah, getting that where it's just right in the middle. That also will give you, it's also going to put your ratchet in a spot where you have some movability. Yeah. So if it's way too far out, you're barely getting like 2 clicks in and it's kind of sketchy. Or if it's too far in, you're maxing out. And again,
Yeah, you bottom that out. You can't tweak it throughout the day as maybe you flex the strap out or something like that.
So there's, every binding's got some sort of adjustability in the ankle strap, and that's like a really big one.
This is key. Just center that strap. And toe is the exact same thing. Toe is, you know, you want to have that toe dialed so you've got a little bit more ratchet leverage when you need it. But again, these are designed to work that way. They're designed to work dead center. Okay, number 4.
High backs.
So this one gets a little more controversial. We've got forward lean, we've got rotatable. There's some guys out there that don't believe in rotating high backs.
I mean,
Fozzie definitely does.
There's folks out there that ride with no high backs.
Yeah.
You know,
I will sometimes do that on the front foot.
Yeah, and I really use my high backs. Like I fully engage them, and I want them there for that support into those heel turns, and that responsiveness. So just see a lot of folks out there. I watch them going into a heel turn, dead lock-legged, both legs locked,
Again,
leaning
hard
back,
on your knees, hard on your
leaning
knees,
back,
hard on everything.
doing this, and it's like they might as well, at that point, they might as well take the high backs off.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can see that there's like a space between their boot and their high back. So a couple things. A, you want to do your bindings up tight so you're back in there snug. But there's lots of adjustability on high backs. Not every company, not even every model within every company, but for the most part, you're going to at least get some sort of forward lean adjustment. Again, it's going to be personal preference, how your boot fits in there, etc. The more forward lean you put in, the more response you're going to get early in a heel turn and going into a heel turn, and the more it supports you as you come back, so you don't get that sensation that you're going to fall over every time. The other thing is the rotatable. Being able to rotate the high back so it's parallel with the edge of the board. So when you have a little bit more of an aggressive angle, anything over about 15 degrees, you'll notice that the high back is like angled more back towards your back leg than it is.
And your legs will
and
be
your
stepping
heel
up
turn
here,
usually when you initiate a heel turn, it's not just straight back, it's forward and back at this angle, and then you're just barely catching the corner. A lot of the high backs are even designed super asymmetrical with a little bit more,
are these,
with a little bit more bulge to the exteriors to kind of catch you from that. But you know, this binding, it's got some little tracks on the high back. Some high backs just have multiple sets of holes, and you want to rotate those so that they are parallel to the edge.
And another thing to look at too, I just want to make the point with forward lean. Your boot is also going to determine that. So there's a spine built into your boot, and I've had 32 boots that have been about 17 degrees. I've had the new Nidecker boot that was a little more relaxed, a little more upright. That is something you also want to match when you get them in there. If you find that your boot forward lean, you know, has an angle here and this high back's not engaging at all, that's your first indication to just give yourself a little bit, because your boot's already in that place, your knees are already going to be bent like that too. Then you know you've got immediate engagement. Then you can go from there. Like Fawcett will run more on your front foot, right? You've been
I
doing
run
that?
more. I've been running more on my
And
front
that's,
leg.
you know, when he powers into that and starts to weight that leg, that engages faster. So you can play around with those things too, because it will engage your heel edge faster, which was cool. I used that a bunch last year, and actually really I started doing the same. I used to have more on my back, now I have more on my front. But the boots, I always determine it by my boot. I'll throw my boot in, match this up to whatever boot model I'm riding, and then go from there.
100%. Now, the only detriment, because you can have too much forward lean.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be, well, your legs are going to cramp up. You're not going to feel good just standing up tall, riding down the cat track. You're always going to want to be on your heels, or it's going to force you over your toes more. And it will affect like tweakability and such. If you got a pile of forward lean on that back binding in particular, like, you know, your leg's not going to slide out there on the methods as easy and such. So a lot of like really freestyle oriented folks will ride as straight up as they can,
Excluding half pipe.
while they still are able to engage, but kind of as straight up as they can. Funny enough, border cross riders as well, those super technical start
Quite
sections,
straight up and down.
they want to be able to straighten up like super well. So they run the bare minimum that they can while still being able to pull off a really good heel turn.
And I interjected the half pipe riders because they need their knees bent and a bit more for riding the wall. So that was always, it really would help.
Flat bottom now.
Exactly.
I mean, they go across the flat bottom, well, the hot shots at like 50 kilometers an hour, and it's heavy.
So they need a bit more forward lean in that situation. On to number 5, and that is just buying outright the wrong binding. So I did see this a lot last year. Everyone loves T-Rice. Everyone wanted his binding. Not everybody needed his binding. So really just be honest with yourself, your abilities, and what you're buying. You know, if you're grabbing a Union Atlas and you've been snowboarding for half a season, it might not be the right move.
Yeah.
Might not be the right move. So anyway, like a reputable shop will always be able to kind of guide you there and really get you dialed on what you should be riding. So I bring up the Travis Rice one because it probably happened 3 times last year. And I was like,
They like Travis, and then there's some folks, they literally think they're like, if I pay more, I get better.
Yeah.
I get better stuff. And
you do, but is that
not
better for
necessarily.
you?
Yeah.
Is it better for you?
100%.
So,
100%.
you know, just be honest with your riding abilities. I mean, I like the Union Ultra. I could ride Travis's binding, but the Ultra, my body weight, my riding style, no, I don't use
Riding
it. Like,
riding style's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Some people want super stiff and responsive, and then there's other riders that are like amazing pro riders, and they're like, no, man, soft and surfy.
Arthur Longo, he's the one that got me on the Union Ultras. Like that's
soft and
you know,
soft and surfy, and like that's, you know, sometimes the opposite of what people would think is like paying for performance, you know? So
we had to do that as number 5 just because we see it a lot, but a lot of this comes down to a reputable shop. If you don't have that, then hopefully this episode helped you out. We got to shout out sponsors as always. Cole Headwear always has our heads. They've got our backs, our heads. We have the James brand knives. James brand knives, always my everyday carry. Got these in my pocket. They make box cutters, pens. Check out their website. Those guys are phenomenal. And BALDFACE Lodge, our backyard, of course. Those guys helping out again this season. And another thing we're going to be bringing to you is some of the preferred shops. We are friends, homies with a bunch of great shops across Canada, the US, Australia, Europe. We're going to be bringing to light a few of those guys throughout this season too. So if you're in the area, it's the shop you want to visit. And I really, as a shop owner myself, just really want to bring that stuff to light. It's important that we support those guys. And so you'll be seeing more of that too. Like and subscribe as always. We need you guys there. You know, we're at 58% of our viewers are subscribed. So let's get that up there. Come on, help us out here, right? Fozzie, in closing, what do you got? Is it going to snow this year? Is it going to snow in October? BC? What's the almanac saying? What's the Fawcett almanac?
There's like normally I go off the yellow jackets. We had like 0 this year.
Yeah, it was weird.
Which was because last year it was like biblical.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something. They're scared.
Maybe. It's just going to hammer.
I've seen a few things cool and wet for the Pacific Northwest is all I've really seen. So that's usually a good sign for us here in Nelson and up at BALDFACE Lodge. Hey, thanks again for watching. And until next time, I'm Mark Fawcett.
I'm Shane Johnson. We'll see you on the next one.